Hey there, friends. I am back and feeling refreshed after a much needed break. I hope you are all doing fantastic. Today, I am excited to share with you 3 meal prepping ideas I cook for my husband. Now, these dishes, not only do they freeze well, but they also can last at least 10 days. And they reheat like a dream. Now, let's dive in. The first dish we're going to tackle is my spinach, cabbage, and fish sauce. I enjoy making this dish for my husband because it is rich in fiber and protein. It's filling and satisfying and perfect for anyone on a low-carb diet or weight loss journey. First, let's prep our ingredients to keep things efficient. For the frozen spinach, I like to rinse it a couple of times after removing it from the bag and squeeze out most of the water. Simple enough so far, right? Next, chop up the cabbage and give it a rinse. Wow, this is very dense. And here's what you'll need. Olive oil for cooking, rinsed spinach, chopped cabbage, mackerel in tomato sauce, rehydrated smoked herrings, my go-to green seasoning, habanero for spicy kick, as well as sweet chopped red bell pepper, and some chopped onion for flavor. Oh, and don't forget the cured fish and dawadawa for that umami boost. To the heated cooking olive oil, I like to add some cold-pressed coconut oil for a hint of tropical flavor. And then I toss in my umami flavoring ingredients, the dawadawa and cured fish, and fry for about a minute. Next, add the onions and saute until they are caramelized, which should take about 3 minutes. Then stir in the habanero and cook until fragrant, which should take about a minute. As you see, what we're doing is essentially building on our flavors. So it is time to season with our salt and crushed black pepper. Of course, to taste. Soaking the herrings earlier makes it easy to remove the bones. And I highly recommend removing the bones for an easier, safer, more enjoyable eating experience. I am sure you will agree with that. And once our onions are beautifully caramelized, look at that. Perfection. Mix in the fresh green seasoning, followed by the fish or the herrings, and stir that in to combine and cook for an extra minute or so. And while you have that going, break down the mackerel in tomato sauce and then combine it with what you have in your pots so far. This mackerel and tomato sauce brings so much more flavor and volume, as well as extra protein to the dish. And by the way, it came out of a can. It's canned mackerel in tomato sauce, although I do have a recipe on this channel of how I make it homemade. Now go in with your preferred seasonings and spices to season to taste, of course. Combine everything and let it cook for about 5 minutes, and then add the cabbage and the red bell pepper. And continue staying tuned for the final few steps of this nutritious dish. If you've been watching to this extent, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to you. Thank you so much. Please be sure to like the video. Most times we forget to do so. When you do like the video, it helps to push the video. The algorithm likes it when you like the video. So please kindly do that for your sister, Madame. Thank you in advance. Now you want to cover the pot and let the cabbage wilt down. This should take about 3 minutes or so, still cooking on medium-low heat. Then go in and stir and see if the texture of the cabbage is to your preference. I like it so far, so I am quite happy here. Next, we want to add the spinach. And then stir that in also to combine everything. Looking good, looking good. Once you've stirred in the spinach, cover the pot and turn the stove off completely. We're using the residual heat to gently tenderize the spinach. Remember, we're meal prepping, so we'll reheat this dish later. We don't want to overcook it now. And there you have it, a whole pot filled with nutritious food. Isn't it amazing? All right, now that we have conquered our spinach and cabbage stew, our next creation will spice things up, and it is our coconut curried bean stew. Let me show you how I go about that. Let's go over the ingredients needed. Fresh ginger, garlic, fresh green seasoning mix, your preferred dry spices and seasonings, and the star of the show, of course, is the canned kidney beans, along with whole sweet onion, red bell peppers, and tomatoes. Since this dish is quite simple, I love adding layers of flavors by roasting the vegetables. So I chop up the red bell peppers, onions, and tomatoes and roast them in the air fryer. Now for the onion, I only roast half of it. We're using a whole onion for the recipe, but I will only roast half of it. The other half I will be chopping shortly. Now before we roast, let's season with some salt and crushed black pepper. And then we'll also add some oil. And my preferred oil here is my cooking olive oil. Give it a mix and roast using the veggie option. Meanwhile, chop up the other half of the onion and set that aside. Then we want to drain and rinse the canned beans thoroughly. They are already cooked, which saves time since beans usually take a while to soften and tenderize. Using canned beans makes this process much easier and more efficient use of your time. Don't you agree? Now, on certain occasions, I will purchase the uncooked beans, soak them, and then cook them in a pressure cooker, and then bag them and store them in the freezer until they're ready to be used. So that's another option. Our vegetables are now roasted, so let's blend them until smooth. Roasting really enhances their flavor, a great technique to boost your dishes. Ideally, I would have roasted the garlic and the ginger too, but I forgot with everything going on. It happens, right? No worries. We can blend them now. Now let's get cooking. In a pot over medium-low heat, pour in some cold pressed coconut oil for that island flavor. And you can use any oil of choice. I like to build on flavor, so therefore I use an oil that is fragrant or an oil that has flavor. Olive oil will be a great option too. Once your oil heats up, add your onions, then season with some salt and crushed black pepper. And then cook until softened, fragrant, and translucent. That should take about a minute. And now you want to introduce your dry seasonings and spices of preference. And then you want to stir that in to combine it and continue cooking for an extra minute or so. And then you want to go in with your pureed roasted vegetables. Stir that in as well. And you want to now rinse your blender. We do not want any waste around here. No. And add that water to it. Stir it. Now you want to introduce the lid to its pot and cook on medium-low heat for about 5 minutes. That's looking very good. Now you want to go in with your beans. After adding the beans, you want to stir again to combine everything. And then you want to throw the lid on and turn the heat down to the lowest setting and cook for 15 minutes. Now your bean stew is cooked. We want to go in with a fresh boost of flavor and fragrance. So here is where the fresh green seasoning comes in. You just want to fold that in and turn the heat off. It also serves as a garnish because there are specks of beautiful colors in there. The coconut flavor has now dissipated, so I go in with a little more of it as a finishing oil, and voila, we're done. I know you'll agree that coconut beans stew was out of this world. We're done with that. Now let's delve into our next creation, which is our fish gravy. Simple, but packs a load of flavor. Let me show you how I'll go about it. For this dish, I am using white bass already cleaned and cut into my preferred sizes. I season each piece thoroughly with my favorite spices and dry rub. Adding fresh green seasoning, salt, and crushed black pepper to build flavor. Now rub it all in to coat each piece of fish evenly. Smells wonderful. Looks stunning too, right? Perfection. Now set it aside to marinate. While that's happening, let's prep the rest of our ingredients. I have some red bell peppers which I'll be using, so I chop them up by removing their seeds. And yes, again, I will be roasting the ingredients to boost the flavors here. So into the air fryer, because that is the roasting option I'm going to be using again. And with the red bell peppers, I will also be roasting half a large onion. So I chop that up as well and add it to the air fryer. And for my tomatoes, I remove the flesh and the seeds and the extra juice from the tomatoes to speed up the cooking. I will be roasting the flesh with the rest of the vegetables in the air fryer. And here's how I remove the seeds and the extra juice. Just like so. And set the rest of the flesh or the core aside. We don't want to waste that. Now I have my chilies. I have habanero chilies and Scotch bonnet. I remove the seeds to decrease the heat that they introduce to the recipe. And into the air fryer they also go to roast with the rest of the vegetables, along with the garlic and also the ginger. I season this layer also with some salt and crushed black pepper and drizzle of oil. Then roast them using the veggie option. While the vegetables roast, I chop up the rest of the onions and set them aside. And the vegetables are done roasting, so the next step is to blend them until smooth. Now remember, I saved the tomato cores to add chunky texture and volume to the stew, so I chopped those up. Perfectly done. You want to set that aside. And now let's get cooking. We're going to start by sauteing the onions in a bit of olive oil until soft. You want to season with your choice of spices, crushed black pepper and salt. And now you want to cook for about a minute or until they're fragrant. We're using medium-high heats now, because last thing we want is to pull moisture out of these onions. Now add fresh green seasoning. It looks amazing right now. And stir that in. You want to cook this for under a minute at this point. And now we will remove the onions and set them aside to be reintroduced at a later time. So keep on watching. Friends, thank you so much for watching up to this extent. I appreciate you all for your support and love. Make sure you're hitting that like button if you have forgotten to do so. Just a quick, gentle reminder. Also share the video on all your social media platforms. It is time to cook the fish. We're going to fry the fish in the same flavorful oil, ensuring all sides are cooked. And we're going to set them aside. And now in that same flavorful oil, we're going to cook some tomato paste. Just a small amount of it. We're going to cook that for about a minute and a half. And we don't want to forget seasoning as we go with some crushed black pepper and salt for each layer as you deem necessary. And also you can use your preferred seasonings and spices. And if you feel it's necessary, add a little more oil. I felt so I added a little more cooking olive oil. And then I also added my chopped tomato core. And I cooked that for about 30 seconds or so. Now I did have some green chili sauce on hand, so I added that for extra flavor. Perfect. And then the next step is to add the pre-roasted vegetables. And then as you stir that in to combine, the next step is to cover the pot and cook on low heat for about 10 minutes or until the oil resurfaces. It is looking very good. Yes, so now we're going to finish with more green seasoning, then reintroduce the fish and sauteed onions. Then we'll cover and cook for 2 more minutes. And voila, it's ready to serve. And today, I served it with roasted buttery potatoes. And it was more than yummy, friends. And the beauty of this dish is you can serve it with anything you choose. Steamed vegetables, pasta, just name it. I hope these simple ideas have given you some inspiration and that you will be actually trying these ideas. Now, I will be bringing you more, so stay tuned. Again, thank you very much for all your support and all your love. Be sure to hit that like button. Also, subscribe if you're not already subscribed to the channel. I really appreciate every support you can give me here. And then share the video as well so others can learn about Nanabe's kitchen. We have nothing but love to share here. Let's spread it. Friends, thanks again for joining me. I hope to see you pretty soon on my next one. Have a great day. Make it a great day, actually, and have fun, especially in that kitchen.